Hello and welcome to sim.bc, where right now is about, well, it's 0041, it's approaching 41, so 0041 in the morning, and again mates, in the morning, in that morning, you know, when the light isn't out and it's all cold and dark, but soon we're in the apartment, woohoo, gonna celebrate then, am I right people, am I right? Yet again we have lots of things to cover, so we're gonna get straight into it actually. Yeah, I bet you didn't expect that, only 30 seconds in and you're like, we're already in there. It's gonna be more than 30 seconds now that I'm moving myself around and talking, but yeah, that's basically what we're gonna do today. I had a bit of a fun trip yesterday. I don't think I mentioned it in yesterday's video because it was before that, but I went to saw a friend in a different city. It was all fine, all good, all dandy, but let's get into it, because today we're going to discuss chapter numero 5. And that is all about internal branding, building a business. And that is in relation to a quick overview of internal branding. And we're going to talk about this in the sense that I have written lots of notes, right, on the chapters. If you see me, right, like just having my eyes fixed like this, it's probably because I'm reading off some of my notes. So just bear with me on that. Well, we're going to start with saying this. Nearly 70% of employees are not engaged in their place of work. And it has apparently been the same for the last decade, according to Tailor Brands. And I know what you're saying, mates. I know what you're saying. The older of you in the audience are gonna say, well, that's typical. That's just all of them kids running around with all of them phones just clicking away. They don't want to work. They don't want to do anything. Am I right? Back in the day, back in my day, it was much better, because them people, they worked hard, they sat at their computer, they looked at cat memes, and they were struggling to recover from the economic crisis that had just hit. They were working their butts off. But yeah, according to Tailor Brand, the nearly 70% of employees are not engaged in their place of work. And what I'm meant to encourage by that previous statement is that, well, the perception is that, you know, younger people don't work. But that what they've actually said is not that they don't work, it's just that they're not engaged in their work. They're not invested in their work. They don't care that much about their work. Maybe because they have tested this statistics and gotten the statistics from highly individualistic countries where they just tend to, you know, care about themselves more than the collective context around them, you know, individualism and collectivism in the Hofstede dimensions. And because of that, they do not feel invested in the company that they're working in and feel more like, oh, I'm caring more about me and not actually the company itself. So that's why I'm not interested, or rather not interested, but that's why I'm not engaged in my work process. But what they also are stretching is that even though external communication has been improved over this time, and what do we mean with external communication? Well, basically ways to formulate a brand, ways to formulate a logo, ways to perceive and distribute the logo, the branding, the company's information in itself, different internal intranets, different external intranets and information systems that are providing you with information, such as, yet again, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. There are lots of good communication tools there for the company to actually try to transcend what their actions are to their employees as well. But yet, even with this, they have failed to make lots of their employees engage in their workplace. So, with that as a context, people need to feel connected at work in order to work better together. That's fairly obvious now, isn't it? Because if you're working in a group, mate, you want to be a team. You want all of the individual inputs to be less by themselves than they are as a group of people. You want the collective output to be higher than each individual output by themselves. That just makes sense. And how do we achieve this? Well, probably by making people work together and like working together with common goals, feeling connections to oneself and other people in the group in order to yet again establish this team. Their values should be the same as the company values and goals as well, because this will make it easier to achieve common goals. Because if you have one goal and I have one goal, it's probably going to be the same goals because we're working at the same place and we're both of the same mindset, mates. Why? Well, because we're both from the same background. We're working at the same company. We're probably working at the same level in the organization. Even though we might have different positions and we might do different things, we probably still have kind of the same mindset since we're working with the same business culture. And that also comes in the secondary part here. And you need to reach less goals while still being equally as effective, if not more. And what do I mean with this? Well, I mean that's a business. You need to reach less goals as a business if all of your employees' personal goals are aligned with the business culture and the business context. Why is this the case? Well, let's say in example A, you have to reach 10 business objectives. You also, in order to engage your employees, needs to reach 2 different objectives in order to motivate them, in order to make them feel engaged, in order to make them feel empowered, in a way to make them feel entitled to their work position, in order to make them feel engaged yet again. And in example B, we have that the people working at your corporation view their goals to be the same as the company goals. Here you only, so to say, have to achieve 10 goals, which is less than 12 in the previous one, right? But still you can be more effective because now you're reaching only 10 goals, so to say, but you're reaching something more in each goal because you're yet again trying to say that, well, you as an employee will have a translated benefit when we're reaching our business goals. Then some tips for implementing internal branding. Empowering your staff, a good one, a really good one. And what's this based on? Well, it's just basically based on sharing information. As you should view, and as the company, right, you should view in a way, right, your employees as customers of the corporation. You need to give them the information that they need. You need to sell it. You need to sell what they're in on, right? And this is not the case in all organizations. I know that there are some organizations that are built on non-profit, built on passion. The people who come to work there, they really like the idea that they're having. They really like the idea of the corporation. But yet again, why are they doing that? Because the corporation has already marketed themselves, shared enough information so that they look transparent. They've showed themselves to be transparent, and so all of the employees coming to the corporation has already understood what they're about. But if you're in a corporation where this is not the case, you as a corporation, or your manager, so to say, you should tell your manager that they need to share more information with you. Transparency is key here, mates, and not the key that, well, all of it should be transparent. There are some patents that probably cannot be disclosed. However, you should show off as much information as you can in order to make your employees feel like they can make an educated opinion, that they can make an educated choice, they can have an educated opinion about the workplace, and that will also enhance their ability to understand their business goals. Hence they can start aligning their goals with the business's goals, making common goals, yet again reaching less goals but being equally as efficient. The other tips of implementing internal branding is enhancing the communication tools, because what good is good information if you can't share them in a good way? So according to Tailor Brands, 31% of all employees who have the option of using an intranet have never used it. And only 13% of those people who have access to the intranet at the corporation uses it every day. And they tend to say, yet again, as we touched in the last chapter review in chapter 4, that use Twitter instead. That's kind of the idea that the corporation wants to push. That use Twitter, use Instagram, use Facebook, use social media, use something that people already are accessing on their phones, something that they're already aligned with. For instance, if I'm an employee at a corporation, I'm like, well, we have this intranet that's really clunky, I can only access this on the work computers, but most of the time when I'm off work, I'm on my phone, because here's where I get all my news, here's where I get all of my communication with my friends. Why not just saying that the corporation should show off their information here again, yet again keeping in mind the idea that they need to sell the information to you as well, so that you can start thinking that, oh, this is good because the corporation has presented it in a way that I feel is good, and now I can work with that, right? Now I can work with that, implementing it into my own goals, into my own future, into my own ability, trying to, yet again, align goals. So use Twitter and stuff. Yeah, yet again, greater transparency, easier to align goals. That's the key here. So how does a logo affect my internal branding? Well, you start with an inside-out perspective, and this is kind of what we've been discussing this entire time. The idea that you as a corporation are selling, you're constantly selling your logo, you're selling your branding, you're selling your ideals, you're selling your meaning, you're selling your future, so to say, to the employees of your company as well as your customers, in order to retain them, in order to make them understand why they are at the workplace, in order to truly engage them. And then they have some stuff here. Internal branding only important in big companies where people don't even know the name of the CEO to create transparency. No, of course this is not the case. Internal branding is not only important in big corporations. I would argue that it's arguably even more important in small corporations, because small companies need to work harder for getting that same brand recognition. So it's important with internal branding, working with internal branding, so that everyone in that small corporation is working towards a common goal. They're keeping in mind the same brand recognition from others that they want to perceive. So that means that when they go to suppliers, when they go to customers, when they go to retailers, whatever it is, they all need to present a unified front, in the sense that they all need to know what the logo actually is. They all need to know what the branding actually is. They all need to know what the corporate culture is. It doesn't make any difference if the CEO of the company, the founder, so to say, knows exactly what it is. All of the employees need to understand it too. Hence why it is so important to both have good tools for sharing information and actually sharing information via these tools. So just gonna end this with a bit of a quote, right? Summarizing a bit of what we've been going through thus far, and some stuff from this chapter as well, and it reads as follows. The important thing for any business, whether large or small, is to ensure that you have a beautiful logo for starters, topped up with a full branding solution, and no one is any wiser as to the size of success or your business. As some say, fake it till you make it. And I think that's a rather beautiful quote, and it's taken from chapter 5 of Tailor Brand's ebook, because fake it until you make it, because nobody will be any the wiser. And I'm not saying that you should fake it just to fake it. You should have some kind of structure behind it, and I'm not saying fake it and break rules and stuff. You should keep within the playing set of the rules. But it's quite an interesting idea that nobody will know that you're doing something wrong when it comes to your business context, when it comes to interpretation. It's just the CEO who's going to know, and it's his or her responsibility to make sure that you know. So that was everything for me today, mates. Hope you had a nice one listening to this, and if you feel like, please comment in the comment section below what you thought I was missing out, what you think about the chapters so far, what you think about this particular chapter and the internal branding as a sense. Do you perhaps think that, well, information isn't that important, I'm just working away and I feel engaged? If that's your perspective, mates, I can say that I quite don't understand where you're coming from, but maybe it is. Please introduce new perspectives in the comment section below. Have a nice one, mates, as I said, and I'll see you tomorrow with chapter numero 6.